Jane, you've coached individuals, businesses, and I want you just to tell us from your experience, because I know all these things that we're speaking about, for you to do, you need a mindset shift. You need to shift your mind to think in a certain direction for you to be able to implement the insights that are coming from this tool. So tell us, what is one mindset shift that truly transforms someone's financial life? And I'm speaking in this world where there's so much pressure, social media. You want to compare yourself, you want to compare your business. I want to compare my business that does cleaning to selling cars, what Purity does. I want to impress, I want a nice house, I want a nice car. What is that mindset shift? Jane.
Wow. Like I said, taking the master classes and all that, yeah, the first lesson that's when we go to these master classes, we are taught it's about mindset. And anytime a client comes sitting down next to me, the first thing I have to prepare them is about mindset. But the one mindset shift I would tell people to change is pressure over performance. People should stop adoring so much pressure and start doing performance. What do I mean by this, yeah? We live in a society whereby social media is the new norm, right? Everyone, TikTok, Instagram, but we are so deprived by looking at the pressures of other people than focusing on our own performance. Like the theme, work your way. If we were supposed to just change our mindset and focus and tell our mind, I'm now planning to do performance and I'm not looking at what that other person is doing, we will be way much far. And that is when you focus on performance, you'll start now building wealth your own way. When I talk about building wealth your own way, what do I mean by this, yeah? First, you need to know your numbers. You know, most of us keep on saying, I'm not good with money. Sometimes a salary comes, I pay my bills, that's it. But actually, have you interacted with your money? All the time I talk, I always tell people, go on a money date. But you can't go on a money date if your mindset is focused on pressures. You have to shift that mindset and put your mind as in, I'm performing now, yeah? It's time for me to perform and make sure my mind is set to do well my own way. Go on a money date. Once you're on a money date, ask your money, where do I need you to do? Do a budget, a simple budget, start with that, yeah? Control all your income. This is what I want you to do. This, like Eric has explained, all the investment process and all that, yeah? Write your financial goals, control all that. But remember, your mindset keeps on shifting towards performance. That's the basic. Then get structure. As long as you have done all the budgeting and all that, have a structure. How many in this room have a good structure in terms of their financial structure? We rarely have. Because most of us are just focusing on the next step, the next thing. Vivian has done this, I want to build this. Purity has a big kayak. I think I'll also get into the kayak business. I want to build I have to drive, I remember when we were on campus, I want to drive my first car when I start immediately working. That is why we ended up making the financial bad decision that we did, getting a loan without a plan. I want to have my own home by the time I'm 30. But do you have a structure for that? And remember, all these things come from our mindset. Shifting it from pressure to performance. And lastly, telling your mind, I'm not Vivian, I'm not Purity, I'm not Jane. I am me. And believe in yourself. When you start to believing in yourself, you start building wealth your own way. You see, sometimes I can talk about this and talk, yeah? But building wealth your own way and shifting your mindset, sometimes it's not about, you might realize, I am not good with that, buying that car. I am okay Ubering, but my money is doing something else for me. That is, you're building wealth your own way. I am a fan of traveling. I don't have to own that home. But as long as I'm traveling and I'm putting aside money for tomorrow, that's building wealth your own way. And it's all about mindset. Yeah.
What are the biggest financial barriers women face today? And I want you to give them a solution, just not highlighting the barriers, but how do we begin as women to rewrite our financial stories with confidence?
You should have given me a breather.
Okay.
But it's okay. Some of the biggest barriers as women that we face, we feel that we are not good enough. And this comes down even to our money. We earn so much, women, and sorry for all the men in the house, we work so hard. Then you go, you get your salary, you come back. But we never feel we are good enough with our money. From the research, if you're seated here, you can start with me. We always, and this one comes from how we were raised, We grew up in a society where we are told men, please bear with me, Men are good with money. We are good with structure. So when we earn, we give our men this money, but some of the men, right? We give them this money so that they can tell us what to do with that. And from the research I did, that is, even today, we will think that until we are now at women empowerment and all that, but it doesn't happen. Men still continue making the decision. But women, it's time for that to change. You are good enough to make that decision in terms of investment. You're good enough to go learn about money, So, we grew up also in a culture where we are told we are supposed to, some of the women, we are supposed to stay at home, we are supposed to, most of us are the backbone of our families, right? Women are the backbone of our families. Men make money. They bring to us that money. Some men bring to us that money. But because we still think it's not okay, we are still leaning towards the nilikuwa nafikiria tufanye hii investment, what do you think? And shifting that statement to, I have seen an opportunity for this investment, can we start? You see, but most of us will go with this talk, Hi babe, we have this money, I've seen these investments, what do you think? Shift and now be confident and tell him, say, hi babe, this time, this opportunity, I think it's a good one, we can invest. At the same time, women, we have brought this amount of money, right? But lack of financial literacy. Women are most risk-averse people that I know. Sisi tutaweka pesa yetu money market kwisha. Hiyo najua haiwezi fanya nini? Haiwezi potea. But it stops there. That's where we draw the line. Akienda sana upate mwenye, most of us here, akienda sana ako na knowledge ya T-bills na bonds, that's the next perfect investment place that they will do. And we stop there. Why? Because of lack of financial literacy, because of lack of taking an extra risk. I sit down with clients, both male and female, If I sit down with a client for the male, we look at different, a diverse portfolio. But for a woman, and I attest to that, and most of you who have come to my sessions, we only look at MMF, T-bills and bonds. Sitasema majina, but you can attest to that. But why can't we now start taking more risk? Learn about stocks, learn about the global markets, learn about even crypto. If you do it right, if you understand it. Why can't we hear about Forex? Learn about it. We hear Forex is gonna scam, but why can't we learn about it and understand what is all about it, We never take risk in terms of starting a business. Most of us are way comfortable with the corporate job. I tell women, why can't you now start making that extra income with starting a side hustle on the side? We are so much focused, as long as we put a job at 8 to 5, then I go home, I'm okay. Why can't that remaining, I know we have time, we have to have time for our babies, for our big babies that are our husbands, for our family, for if you have Gen Z's brothers and sisters, you have to create that. If you have a mom like myself who is a widow, you have to create time for that. But out of that, why can't you try and take that risk and create an extra income? talk about wealth aware. I'll talk about it later, but there's a topic that when I was researching on in terms of us women, yeah? Like I said, we are very most risk averse people. We need to stop that. How many of us after this will come for a session and we open, at least we learn, not a session of opening, but at least we learn what's all about stocks, what's all about the global market that I can do. Real estate, we don't have, okay, oh my God. Yeah, we first invest with Grey Oak and Finsco. But after that, if we have an extra income, why can't we learn what else can I go invest out there? And like sticking to MMF alone, yeah? There's also this side of women. They know it's all woman. They have research, they have Google, they have information from them, like work on that, all information. But they never take a step. They never start. Most of us here are in that bracket. Because most of these women I look, work on your financial knowledge, work on your, but have you started? Have you taken that leap of faith to just do it? So if I talk about women and wealth, I can talk for a whole day. But there's so many things that we go through as women, from our families, from our kids, from our partners. We have partners who are very, in terms of financial abuse, financial lies. We get all that and we're still strong. But from today onwards, what I can tell you, go back home, sit down with your partner, structure your wealth together and do it your own way. You have a voice. Do it your own way. Yeah.
Being a mom myself, I'm just wondering, for the panelists, what strategies are you implementing to make sure that your children, that you impact financial literacy from a young age? Because I know I'm building wealth, but I want my babies to be able to come up behind me and just build on what me and my husband are building. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'll answer in two ways. Yeah? First, I'll answer as myself what we do at home. My kids are 6, 3, and 1. Okay, we're on amazing, but 6, 3, and 1. But the first thing, if I know most of us maybe have kids under that, yeah, you start training them or telling them what you do, so that they can understand where money is coming from. Tell them, like, sometimes you see me doing pictures for my daughters or wamekuja kwa ofisi. I tell them this is where mommy works, so that when I tell them I'm going to work, they will know exactly what work is. That is the age, right? They go when the dad is going to work. Daddy, you said you're going to build a train. The dad brings like a toy train, yeah, and we are now trying to make them understand, Daddy, where does Daddy go to work? What does Daddy do at that work? So that after that, we now tell them, we have first to work so that we get the money to buy you something, or to get the money to get you whatever you want. So the first thing is, at least let them know, before they need something, there is work to be done. And out of that work is where you make money for them to get what they want. That is the age between 2 to 6. Yeah? I haven't gotten past 6, but now this is now the side of where Japesh is coming in. Like I said, I'm answering to. The first step is that, because that is where we are with our kids. What Japesh is doing from next year, because of financial literacy, we are starting a program for the kids. The program will be in 5 phases. Between 6 to 10, that is the beginner stage. After mommy told me they are working here, they get this money. What do they do with this money? The basics of basically about learning what is money, what is a debt, what is what. Mommy told me they have a loan. What is a loan? Mommy said they have credit card. What is a credit card? Basically, it will just be that knowledge stage where they need to understand. So if your kids are in that stage, that is what you need to start training them, the jargons of finances, so that they can understand. Yeah. Then we go to that teen between 10 and 15. This is now where they start learning about numbers, budgeting. You sit down with them. If you're doing your if your kid is here, if you're doing your monthly budget, sit down with them, let them understand. Mommy gets this amount of money, mommy does this and this and this. Mommy invests in this and this and this, and they start understanding. And then they go a bit notch higher and start understanding, like, the government takes money through taxation. Mommy, where do you get all this money? Kwa nini hii inaenda the deduction side of payslip? That is now you start introducing that side. The program goes further, like I said, on the third stage, between 15 to 19. And if your kids are on this stage, now they understand the full financial literacy process. You get your money, you invest first. You get your money, after investing, you do a budgeting. After budgeting, you do debt payment. After debt payment, now you can have your joy fund. Before, like, if we are most privileged, like Purity has said, the middle class, we are the worst actually when it comes to raising kids. They ask, we give, just because we want to show this kid they can get, and tunataka kuonyesha like we are there. But if you have a teen who is up or between 15 and 19, tell them no. If you do this and this work for your money, after you work for your money, tell me, show me a structure of what you're doing with your money. And let them like write a full structure of what they are doing with their money. But that is basically it. And the fourth program is after they finish high school, when they're in campus. Because now in campus they have to take the whole process. So we have to take the whole process of financial literacy, personal finance, investment in a bit depth, understand money market, understand all that. And finally when they get the first paycheck. So that is what, as Japesh, we are doing. But for you here, like I've explained, if your kid is on any session, I do kids session, by the way. It's practical, it's fun. We do 20 to 30 minutes theory. Then the other remaining 30 minutes is full of activities. But at the same time, like one of my mentors told me, we might start building a generation where they're financial literate. But what about the parents? That is where the biggest problem will be. You have, yes, financially literate kids, but the parents hawako. So in that we also incorporate, after a kid does like a whole program, we have one class for the parents, because we need to also tell you guys, when this kid comes at home, what do you need to do for them to continue practicing on that? And I think that is the only way we will build a generation of financial literate kids and avoid my mistake that I got. I didn't get when, like I say in my story. I think that is what now Japesh we will try and incorporate and try as much as to do from next year.
One wealth principle that you want everyone in this room to apply today or tomorrow and teach it to the next generation. 1 minute.
One last thing that I will want to talk about, I'll talk to, in a very short span, about legacy building. I know I really looked for a lawyer panelist to talk about legacy planning, but I'll say it in a very short thing. We always think when it comes to legacy planning, it's all for the wealth. And I've talked it in the book, but it's time we start doing it now. And what do I mean by this? Follow these 3 pillars. Time, First, protection. What do I mean by protection? Have at least insurance. If anyone is depending on your income, you have to have life insurance. The other thing, you have to have health insurance and all the other types of insurance, because out of that is how you can build legacy that is protected. The second pillar is have a structure in writing. Write a will, draft one. Don't say ati sina pesa nyingi, start drafting a will. And go a notch higher, understand about trust. Especially if you're in a blended family or you have more wrangles in your family, you need a trust. And it doesn't have to be only blended family or wrangles. If at all you have people depending on you, you have assets, you have properties, you have that, you need to have a trust to give you structure. And finally is the third pillar is communication. Start communicating about your wealth. There are so many of us who we were raised, our parents have plots, lakini hatujui kwenye ziko. But it's time for that to change. Start communicating your wealth with the people who matter in your life. Okay? Last shot, there is no wealth that is too big or too small. You just have to design wealth your own way. Remember that. There is no one. Purity might have way much wealth than me, but I'm building my wealth in my own way, regardless whether it's big or small. Yeah.